And I wish I could tell the whole story as to how I came to be aware of this, because unlike many, I don't hang on every word that Aaron Rodgers says. I'm out of that business. But when Aaron Rodgers is on Pat McAfee's show on Tuesday, if I catch wind after the fact of something that might be interesting, then I'll go hear what he has to say. And again, I wish I could tell you how I caught wind of this, but I did. So I went and found it in the YouTube clip of his weekly appearance with McAfee. And I want you to listen to what he says about the Bears. And as he talks about the Bears, folks, think about whether to what extent it applies to, his own team, where, they flushed the head coach after only 5 games. Here's Aaron Rodgers, part of what he said yesterday to Pat McAfee.
Well, unfortunately, that's the nature of our league now, right? It's coaches and play callers on both sides of the ball aren't making it through a season. There's just not a lot of patience anymore in the league. It's get this guy out of here. And unfortunately, what happens, and I really mean this, is a lot of it is rinse and repeat under the guise of a brand new scheme, brand new approach, and that's the way the league is going too often. There's not the patience to go, listen, I believe in X, this person, this scheme, this coordinator, this player, and we're going to weather these storms because it's going to make us a mentally tough group or a mentally tough person. Yeah. And we're going to get behind these people. And this is, I don't care what you have to say outside the building. This is what we're going to do.
Okay.
All right.
So, fine. And you could see, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think I saw the machine firing a little bit, like he was realizing that this might create an issue. This might not. This might cause some questions that people would have, like, where were you, Aaron? In the building or out of the building 5 weeks ago when Robert Saleh unceremoniously gets fired? And it was brilliant of him. He was so indignant about the suggestion that he'd done it. He never got pressed on, did you do anything to stop this? Do you believe this? Do you agree with this? Did he deserve to be fired? I got into that whole thing with the New York media because I dared to point out that they might not be as rough and tumble as their reputation would suggest because they tiptoe around Aaron Rodgers. And they definitely tiptoed around him when it came to this because nobody ever put him on the spot and said, do you agree with what happened? He finally answered the question. It just had to do with a completely different team.
Listen, Mike, you're right. You're right. And the, what do you call him, the delicate genius? The delicate genius is right, too. Now, they're two separate tracks, and the question is, will he take his correct statements? Will he take his correct statements about the state of the league, which we just talked about, and how there's impatience and there are these high expectations, or just these dreams, these aspirations that these owners and GMs have of, hey, we're going to do this. Will he take that, and will he open himself up to questions about how he feels about it in his specific situation? And the New York media, and that's a different, I don't want to go too inside baseball, but that's a different story altogether too, and it's tough to hear it. It's tough to hear from somebody like you or somebody like me that, hey, you're maybe not as rigorous, or you're not as, hey, lapels, grab you by the lapels as you think you are, because we all, and I understand it, we all have to do what we have to do to keep the gig going. And so if you are a New York media person and you're in person, I'll call it an in-person media, you're covering the Jets. Yeah, you keep harassing Joe Douglas, you keep harassing Aaron Rodgers, and after a while, your access is going to be cut off. After a while, you won't be the Jets insider that you claim to be, and so you got to do a little dance. And I think it's not just New York media. I think all media members are dealing with that. Those who want to cover the team in person, right?
Mike, I agree with you 100%. But don't tell me how rough and tumble and badass the New York media is. Then they're no different than anyone else. That's my point.
No question.
You're no different than anyone else. It's this ecosystem where you have to be careful, and nobody wants to be the asshole. That's the problem with the press conference. You got 20 people in the room. There's a question that's hovering like the proverbial 600-pound elephant, and nobody wants to be the one to ask it, because the one who asks it is the one who's going to get the blowback from PR and isn't going to get the next scoop. And folks, for those of us who are in the business, the fingerprints are all over it, and we know who they are in which market. The ones who are the favorite son or daughter of the team that gets spoon-fed all the stuff, and it creates the impression they're out there with that giant magnifying glass, and they're digging through dumpsters, and they're engaging in Woodward and Bernstein journalism. Baloney! They're having stuff handed to them because they're covering the team in a way that doesn't make it harder for the team. And that happens everywhere. But let's take the air out of this balloon that the New York media is different. It's not. It's exactly the same.
It is the same. And so this is where Aaron Rodgers is right. There is no patience. He's right, 100%. There's no patience. We talked about OCs, but how about head coaches? Head coaches across the league, it's the same thing. I remember talking with Art Rooney a couple of years ago. We were talking about the Rooney Rule, and he pointed out, he said, Chuck Noll today, Chuck Noll wouldn't have made it in this environment, or people would ask for his firing. His first year, he won a game. It was a bad start, but we were committed to him, and it was never a thought that we were going to move on. Bill Parcells, his first year, they won 3 games. I think they were 3-12-1 or something like that. How would that play in today's media market? Kyle Shanahan, first year, won 6 games. Okay, 6 games, good. We're on the upward trajectory. Nope. Next year, 4 games. So there's not a lot of patience for that today for anybody. You could be the next Hall of Fame coach. If you're not showing something after your first 19 or 20 games, you're probably out, especially with those numbers. I'm talking about 3 wins. If you follow a 3-win season with another 5-win season, most fans are saying that guy needs to go. So there's not the investment in coaches or the investment in yourself. But if you identified the coach and you said he's got a lot of room to grow, we think he can be a really good leader for us, then you go against your own thought process 18, 19 games in, you've done your fans a disservice. You really have done yourself a disservice, and you're starting to, it makes me question your ability to analyze and to project what a guy is going to be. So I think that is a real issue in the league.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.